Do you hear me? Guys? Hello?
Howie, you're good to go.
Hello? Do you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Hello? You can hear me?
We hear you. Yep, you're
Hold
good to
on,
go.
Hold on, let me mute the other line here. Hey guys, thanks for taking the time. I know originally we said we would do this after our last pick, but obviously with this pick here, we wanted to get to you and be available to answer your questions. You know, when Coach Pederson came in, we sat down in 2016. We said we were always going to be about the quarterback position, that it was the most important position in sports. And we were very fortunate to get a young Pro Bowl quarterback in Carson Wentz. And our goal is to surround him with as many good people as we possibly can, as many good players as we possibly can. And so for us in this pick, when we sat and we talked about it as a smaller group and we looked at where we were on the board and what was the thing that we believed in the most and what were the kind of people that we believed in the most, you know, Jalen stood out in all those regards. And we think he is an incredible teammate. He's got a lot to learn here, obviously. You know, we've shown how we feel about Carson by our actions. We showed it by the amount of picks we put into him, and we showed it by the contract extension. And we believe this is a guy to lead us to our next Super Bowl championship. But for better or worse, we are quarterback developers. We want to be a quarterback factory. We have the right people in place to do that. You know, no team in the National Football League has benefited more but from developing quarterbacks than the Philadelphia Eagles. And so we just, when we make these kind of decisions, we always go to our principles and who we are and what we believe in, and right or wrong, this is who we are. And earlier today, I spoke to Carson about the options at this pick, and one of them was Jalen. So he had a heads up ahead of time. And, you know, we're sitting here at the end of the second round. This is not, you know, in the first round pick. This is at the end of the second round. And I think, you know, when we looked at it, the difference between taking someone at the end of the second round and maybe in the middle of the third round with the way our board was, we just felt like this was the right thing to do and the right thing to do based on our beliefs.
Okay, we'll start with Tim McManus and then John McMullen.
Hey, how you guys have made a lot of efforts to have a comfortable environment for Carson and to make sure that you're throwing your full support around him. Why risk the fact that that it could lead to, certainly it's going to be a conversation, but potential controversy and kind of create that potential dynamic around him?
Well, Tim, we obviously looked at this from all angles, and we didn't think this was much different than when we brought Nick Foles in. The amount of money we gave Nick Foles as a backup quarterback in 2017, and then bringing him back in 2018. And I bring up Nick because Jalen's that kind of teammate. He obviously had to take a backseat to Tua in Alabama for a little bit, and we're in a situation here where we brought Nate Sudfeld back, and Nate's been very clear that he wants an opportunity to go lead a team. And so we kind of looked at the future of our football team and said, we keep getting in this situation and we keep kind of putting in resources and to get a guy in here that can be in the system and learn and grow. That to us, it's worth its weight in gold. That position, that room, we want good people in it. That room, we want to be a strong room, and we know what kind of person this guy is. We know what kind of support he'll throw behind our starter. And again, that's our priorities. Our priorities are that, and most importantly, that quarterback position.
John McMullen and then Zach Berman.
Hey, for Howie and Doug, I guess, because we've talked about a lot about the evolution of offensive football and how the game is changing. Taysom Hill in New Orleans, even I think John Harbaugh talked about putting two quarterbacks on the field at one time. Do you see a unique skill set that will let you open up the offense in any way?
Coach.
Yeah, John, I think this player, obviously with Jalen Hurts, I mean, he has a unique skill set, and you see what Taysom Hill has done in New Orleans, and how he and Drew Brees have really have a connection there and a bond there. And you even look at when Flacco and Lamar in Baltimore for the short period of time, how they gelled together It's just something we're going to explore. I want to make a point here, first and foremost, that Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback, and he was drafted as a quarterback, and he's a quarterback first, but he has a unique skill set that he's a great runner. Obviously, he throws well on the run. He's got a unique set of skills that we're going to take a look at as we keep developing this off season and this advancement, so to speak, as we get ready for training camp.
Zach and then Dave Zingaro.
Yes, Howie, I'm following up on your opening statement about the value of the pick. You said this is not a first-round pick, but do you go into a draft with the second-round pick with the expectation that player becomes a starter under his rookie contract? And was this a pick you were not willing to sacrifice in trade negotiations last night?
Yeah, I think when you talk about it again, there's no team that's got more value from the quarterback positions than the Philadelphia Eagles. And, we talked about it, and obviously, that's a factor. Our history is a factor, and that's the most important position in sports. And so when we talk about that pick and, the trade discussions and, when we had the trade discussions yesterday, those were on a separate note. Those were in a situation there where teams were looking for a lot to go up. And, we like Jalen Reagor. Jalen Reagor was a guy that we are excited about. Jalen Reagor is a guy that has a skill set that we are looking for, that we are extremely excited about. We think Jalen Reagor is going to be a very good player for our offense, an explosive player. He's got the ability to get the ball in his hands in different ways. I don't know that we were able to accurately convey our enthusiasm because it was a little bit, the communication was a little bit hard last night. But let's be clear on Jalen Reagor. Like, Jalen Reagor is a player that we are extremely excited about, a guy that really fits what we want to do offensively, really complements the skill set on our team. We didn't select Jalen Reagor for any reason other than we think he can make a difference on our offensive football team. He fits the skill set of our starting quarterback. He fits the skill set of our team. He is a guy that is hard to find in the National Football League, Zach. So, I don't think I was at a minimum enough yesterday because I was a little bit thrown off by the communications. I was kind of talking to myself. I heard it come back, and our guys have done an amazing job throughout this process. So obviously not on them. So, I start with that. We felt like we had an opportunity to get a player who could make a huge difference. And we look at this pick as somebody who is really a tremendous player and person. And that's what the draft's about. The draft isn't about, just doing whatever's best for your team in the short term. The draft is about making long-term smart decisions for your organization based on the priorities that you believe is key to winning football games. And, we've won a lot of football games around here the last 3 years. And I feel very confident that the decisions we make are going to serve us well for the short term and the long term. And, there are other ways for us to add players. We have a lot more picks coming here, and not only today, but tomorrow. We have opportunities in free agency to continue to improve our football team. And that is what we will do.
We'll go Dave and then Les Bone.
Hey, Howie, with a team that's made the playoffs in the last few years, it seems like you have a chance to obviously do that again and make a run. Why prioritize drafting a quarterback who theoretically won't play very much instead of a player who would make an impact this season and the next couple seasons?
Well, Dave, I think I was clear, that we think that this is the most important position in sports. And we felt like this was a proven winner, a guy who is an incredible teammate. He's going to strengthen that quarterback room. There's no doubt we have a Pro Bowl 27-year-old quarterback, but we've seen the value of quarterbacks on our football team. We've seen the value of other teams. I mean, you guys mentioned some of the guys being used in different roles. And the factor that you can give and the weapons that this gives to our offense, to our play caller, who's an unbelievable play caller and has an unbelievably creative mind. And so I think that if you're just looking at it from that perspective, as kind of instead of the way we're looking at it, is this gives us another weapon. This gives us another weapon in that room. This gives us another incredible teammate. This gives us somebody that is going to be incredibly supportive to our quarterback. And, quite frankly, I mean, this is exciting. This is exciting. This is exciting for our quarterback. This is exciting for our football team. And this is the kind of decisions that we're going to make, and we're proud of it.
Okay, Les and then Jeff McLean.
Yeah, Howie, you mentioned Nick Foles a minute ago. I think we all know that that wasn't a long-term situation that could be comfortable, and that was why Nick Foles was allowed to go elsewhere. It seems like you're kind of setting up the same situation again with a highly regarded quarterback coming in, and every incomplete pass that Carson Wentz throws will be, people will be looking at Jalen Hurts. Why do you want to do that?
Well, I don't agree with that. I think that Carson's a phenomenal player, and we think Carson's a phenomenal player. And, nobody's going to be looking at a rookie quarterback as somebody who's going to be taking over a Pro Bowl quarterback, a guy who's been on the cusp of winning an MVP. But at the end of the day, I'm just going to go back to who we are and what we believe in. We believe in the quarterback position. We believe, like this guy, that when we saw our board and we looked over the guys that we thought we could pick at this point, the board had kind of gone in a different direction, and we just felt like, we are stewards of the organization. Our job is to make sure that the organization is strong at the positions we believe in. That's O-line and D-line. We put resources into both those positions. We'll continue to put positions of resources into those positions and the quarterback positions. And again, we'll continue to put weapons around our starting quarterback, our Pro Bowl starting quarterback. But we felt like when we got off this call and we met as a small group, this was the direction we wanted to go. And we felt like this was the right move for the Philadelphia Eagles going forward.
We'll go Jeff and then Mike Garafolo.
I get Doug, this question's first for you, and then I guess Andy for the scouting. Doug, did any of your coaches work out Hurts individually?
Yeah. So Press Taylor, before the pandemic hit and before we were locked out of our facility there at NoviCare, Press had a chance to go to Oklahoma to the pro day and visit and watch him throw, watch him move around. Obviously, the combine. I felt like he had a really good workout there at the combine. But Press Taylor did have a chance to sit with him in Indianapolis and then again go watch him throw in Oklahoma.
And Andy, when was Jalen first on your guys' radar, and what'd you think of him at the Senior Bowl?
So I went and saw him play this year. I went and saw Oklahoma play West Virginia at home in Norman, and I got to see him play live. And it stood out. His strength, his ability to throw and run and make plays. I just saw him. He's part of the new guard of the mobile quarterbacks in the league that can win throwing it or running it. And just an uncanny toughness, poise, and his competitiveness. A natural leader. He's led 2 major college football programs, the conference championships, and playoff games. His starting record speaks for itself. He's just very poised in the pocket. He's an excellent runner. He can throw on the move. He's done it on the big stage. And there's been some times that really stood out with him. Back in 2018, he comes off the bench in Alabama to help them win the SEC championship versus Georgia. This year, we're playing for Oklahoma. They would sit at Baylor, and he brings them back to win the game. All those things that he's done on the big stage. He's been a guy, he hasn't flinched. And I think down at the Senior Bowl, he had a good week down there, and then he had an excellent performance at the Combine, I thought, with his workout in Indianapolis. So we're excited. He's a guy with high level intangibles, and I think he fits. He's going to add to our culture.
We got time for a couple more, so we'll do Garafolo, Mike K, and then Shield.
Howie, you mentioned Sudfeld at the beginning of the call. I may have misheard you. He's still in the plans to be part of things going forward here, at least in the short term?
Yes.
Okay. I couldn't understand what you
Yeah,
said.
we want to get back to having a strong room. I mean, I think, we've talked about it a lot, and I think we were feeling like it was getting away from us a little bit. Nate's been very clear that he wants an opportunity to go start somewhere. And so we felt like, a year from now, we would be throwing resources at this position. We wanted to get out in front of it a little bit and make sure that room was a really strong room. And the player mattered. We were sitting here and we just felt like this player, like Andy described, he's got a lot of the traits that we're looking for to develop. We're not telling you that he's ready right now, but we have the right resources at our disposal and the right time for him to get comfortable and to learn from one of the best players in the league.
And I don't know if this is better for you or Doug or Andy or whatever, but some of the things that I've read is he didn't have to make a whole lot of reads at the line of scrimmage or complex NFL type reads. Is that the areas where he's going to have to come along and work on a little bit?
I think that's with any young quarterback, learning this game, learning our game. It is a complex. He's going to see more defensive schemes. He's going to see the complexity of coverages. That's something that he'll learn. He's very capable of learning. I had a great conversation with his coach, Lincoln Riley, and the communication that they had and the things that they do at the line of scrimmage. And and it is a different world coming from college to the NFL, but he's very capable. He understands ball. He's smart. He's sharp. He can articulate. And there's going to be a learning curve, obviously, of just picking up our system and terminology, especially now with not having potentially having an off season. So, we have to do our best job as coaches to get all our quarterbacks, caught up, and especially him now with learning a new offense.
Last two, Mike and then Sheil.
Howie, you mentioned the board changing a little bit. There haven't been a lot of trades in the first or second round. Did that alter your way of thinking towards this pick, maybe trading up or trading down? Was this the plan going in kind of within the last 10 picks, or was it just kind of you've been planning this all day? You said you talked to Carson about it.
Yeah, we had a list of guys that we felt very comfortable about taking at 53. We knew, what happens every time at the start of the second round is you make this list of guys and everyone's got the same list at the start of the second round and they go off. We're joking, we're making this list and we understand they're going to go off, boom, 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 here as you start the second round because, that's where the first round grade guys go. And so we had a list of guys that we were going to target. And when we got to about pick 45, we kind of got together and made our list and talked about guys that we would consider moving up for, guys, if there are more guys that we consider moving back. And when we looked at it, we kind of looked at our list and where we were and felt like the next tier of guys would be guys that would be considerations for our next pick too. And we have 4 picks in the 43 picks after we pick next. So we got a long way to go, and we really got to make some hay with those 4 picks.
Go ahead, Sheil.
Hey, Howie, I'm sure with all these guys, you kind of look at, the upside and what they could bring over certainly the course of their rookie contract. I think a question with Jalen is what is sort of the best case scenario here with him over the next 4 years, given that you do have Carson and you just paid him and he's obviously your starting quarterback.
I heard the end very clearly, Sheil. I'm sorry. The first part I heard about the 4 years, Carson clearly our starting quarterback. I didn't hear the first part.
Yeah, just what's kind of the best case scenario when you look at this pick and how the roster is constructed, and given that if everything goes how you want with Carson staying healthy, it's tough to envision a scenario where Jalen is making an impact in 4 years. So how do you kind of balance that with a pick like this?
Yeah, I think when we look at the upside that this player has and the players he can learn from in that room with Nate and Carson this year and the coaching staff that we have, we think he's more valuable than the pick we took him at. And we think where the league is going, when he gets experience in coaching, this is going to be a valuable player, and that for us, that's our job is to acquire as many assets as we can and, utilize them and also utilize them to get more value. And so that's really what the draft's about. It's about value. It's about acquiring players that we think have high value. And really, when you look at the quarterback position, there's nothing that has more value. And, Andy said this, and I thought it was a great line. I mean, we've been the biggest beneficiaries in the National Football League over the last 20 years about doing that, about getting quarterbacks, getting them to play at a high level, and then having the opportunity to also get value for them. So, I think when you talk about what the ideal situation is, that's obviously winning Super Bowls with our starting quarterback, getting this kid up to speed, showing what kind of talent that we think he has. And that's a great situation for the Philadelphia Eagles. And that's certainly worth more than the pick that we took at right now.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.